that bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.
All right, welcome to another episode of Behind the Gear. And today we have the privilege to sit down with Natascha Wesch here out of London. And in the field of sports psychology and sport performance and mental, kind of the whole mental part of the game, which I feel is a big piece. We deal more on the skill side and the hockey side, coaching or doing whatever, but we get a lot of questions from parents, a lot of questions from athletes of, situations that you deal with on a regular basis of, getting slighted by the coach or getting ice time cut, or it doesn't matter what the sport is. And I think, we kind of chatted about it a little bit before. It's such an important part of the game that is now new age as far as it's more acceptable. I think back when I was young, if I told someone I was going to Sport Psychologist, they would have said, why are you going to see that quack, or what's going on? You okay? What are the issues? And I think you must have seen this whole part of the sport evolve a ton over the years.
Absolutely. And I think a big part of it is so many people don't understand the mind piece of it. We can say we can train hockey skills or sports skills. And you're like, okay, yeah, if you want to train a slap shot, you do this, 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 and this. But if you want to train confidence, what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? But you do this, this, and this. But most people don't know, so they shy away from it. And when it's unknown, they think, well, if it's unknown, then there must be something wrong. There must be something wrong with you, or you can't hack it, or the old, you're just not mentally tough.
Totally. Yeah. Well, and I think that's the old cliche, right? Yeah. Like, just get up, just get going, just get moving, or, whatever it is. And I think the one thing that you said there that I think is really important is any kind of injury of the mind, and it could be depression. It doesn't have to be a concussion. It could be anything. You can't really diagnose it as far as a broken arm. So, and we don't know how long it's going to heal. An arm, we know 6 weeks, your bone's going to heal and you can move on. But when it comes to mental illness or mental toughness or just even going through a tough time, there's no real timeline on how long that person's going to be on the bench or feeling bad. And that's got to be a real challenging part of your business, right? As far as dealing with that and communicating that.
Absolutely. And a big part of it though, too, is recognizing that it is something, the mind is part of the body, just like any other part of the body. So in fact, it reacts to training the exact same way that the body reacts to training, right? You want to develop a new skill. Well, it's probably going to take you 4 to 6 weeks. You want to get stronger? Probably 4 to 6 weeks. That seems to be the magic number, right? In the gym, you start a new training program.
Definitely.
4 to 6 weeks. And it's the same thing with the mind, but people think, oh, okay, I had a chat. We're good. I'm like, well, if I just say to you, here's how you do a slap shot, see you later, good luck in the NHL, how's that going to work for you?
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
So it requires the discipline, the same kind of discipline that it does for training any other skill, because confidence, managing your emotions, relaxation, all these things are skills that you develop. And most people don't develop them earlier on. They're just kind of thrust into the game and expected to develop those skills as a byproduct of hockey, sport, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right. But there are skills to be developed. And as soon as I can explain that, and more not me explaining it, but them comprehending it.
That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Then they're like, oh, okay. Yeah. I'm willing to put the work in. Right. It's just like, you don't give somebody a training program and go, here, read this and you will be strong tomorrow. Not going to happen.
Right. No, exactly. So now, how often do you get parents, especially, because we talk a lot on this pod about just like, and I'm a parent, so my line, and I've said this many times, so anyone who listened to this before is gonna be like, oh, here he goes again, but is every parent's crazy. Like, we all love our kids. We all want our kids to do well. If our kids miss a slap shot in a big game for an empty net goal, you feel it. Like, you want your kids to do well, but who hides it the best is the least amount of crazy. So we'll get a parent come up to me and be like, well, how many sessions till my kid can skate better? I don't know, the rest of their life, right? Yeah. So for you, I'm sure you had parents come in like, so how many sessions is it going to take to get my son out of the dumpster here?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like,
totally. Yeah. And I've heard that so many times that it's I'm trying to like preempt it before parents come to see me. And I'm like, okay, read this before we actually schedule a consultation. And it explains kind of like, this is, as I was saying, this is a mindset skill. It's going to take some time. There's no guarantee. By the way, I don't have a magic wand. I can't do it. So we're going to work together. This is a collaboration. I'm going to do the work, but he or she also has to do the work. And this is going to be a regular thing. If as soon as you start to feel better, okay, well, just like anything else, as soon as you start to feel strong, do you stop and you're like, yeah, I'm done, right? No, you keep going.
Yeah.
So making sure that the parents, but more so the athlete, is on board. Because I often get, well, I need my son to come and see you, or my daughter to come and see you. He's having a hard time. I'm like, great. Have you talked to your son or daughter about this? Well, no, I just want them to come and see you. Sorry, I'm not accepting them. And the first thing that I say when an athlete comes in, especially a younger athlete, if they didn't book the appointment, evidently, is, so tell me, are you here because you want to be here, or is your mom and dad told you? As soon as they say, well, my mom and dad told me, I'll be like, okay, so we've got 45 minutes together. What do you want to talk about today? Because you've got a session with me. Let's chat. You don't have to come back. Let's chat. Right? And it's like, oh, I want to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, good. What do you want to work on?
Yeah.
Right.
And relating it back to like my sports. So I'm super ignorant the whole time, just talk about hockey. But for us, it's the same thing. If I have a kid who comes to do power skiing, let's say he wants to be faster. Great. But is this you or you? And I'll ask the parents the same thing. Yeah. Does your son know or your daughter know that they need to get quicker? No, not really, but they just look really bad on the ice. Well, then I can't do it because they're not going to want it. They're not going to want to buy in. They're not going to put the time in that we need for them to get results. And then it looks bad on us, right?
It looks bad on us. And it also makes the kid feel bad because then they're like, or the athletes, not all kids, but makes the athlete feel bad because they're like, I'm trying to do this, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to be here for. I'm not really motivated, but my parents paid for it. So I should be getting better. Well, you're not going to get better and you're not going to gain any skill if you're not fully invested.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
And selfishly, just so you know, the reason why I wanted you on here today is to help me with some of my issues. I want to get better in the mental part of the game.
I do have a practical one.
Yeah, perfect. So I know it's not going to take 2 sessions. All right, that's good. I got that out of the way. But I think more importantly too, with you and obviously your expertise and obviously you're a professional in this field, but I think it goes back way further than that. So for you, I mean, just give us a bit of background on your athletic, what you did athletically, because it wasn't just you decided to go to school and get a degree and help people, right? So
how far back do we go?
So when you were 2.
When I was 2.
But you played high level, right? So go ahead. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Montreal, and I played all kinds of different sports. And I was really lucky because I didn't come from a sporty family at all, at all. My dad was a university professor, and I would call him a geek. Right. Yeah. Baseball, kind of, not really.
Sorry, Dad.
Yeah. And it's okay. He's passed.
Okay.
So he won't hear this.
Right.
But just not. And my mom, no, never, still to this day, I don't know. And so, but I was really fortunate that I'd try things. I'd see a poster at school and be like, oh, ringette. My dad would sure. Let's go. And I'll coach. I'm like, you know nothing about, but I didn't know he didn't know anything. Right. So he coached. Right. And I'm like, oh, tennis, I'll try that. You're like, sure, absolutely. Ballet, try that. Yeah, that didn't last. And then, just all kinds of, so I tried, I played tennis. I did gymnastics. And I did gymnastics at a really high level. I played ringette at a high level, did tennis. I was kind of dabbling in all kinds of things. Looking back now, I'm like, oh, sweet. My parents followed the long-term athlete development model. Had no idea. Didn't exist at the time. But I played all kinds of different sports. And it wasn't until probably I switched. So in Montreal or in Quebec, you do CEGEP after high school. Mm-hmm. So in high school, I didn't play any high school sports. I was pretty heavily into gymnastics. I was competing at a pretty high level. And I was also playing ringette at a high level. And then I went to CEGEP and they had a hockey team. I'm like, I can skate. I can play hockey. I'll try that. No idea. Really bad handling skills, but
great skater though.
Great skater.
Because my sister did the same thing. She transferred out of ringette to hockey from Sudbury. So same idea. And hands weren't great, but could skate, no problem. Could keep up with the game, understood the game, which was,
Exactly. And so I ended up playing hockey at CEGEP for 2 years. And then I got recruited by Concordia.
No way.
And so I played hockey at Concordia. But the thing is that the summer before I started, so between CEGEP and university, I started playing rugby, just
random?
Well, okay, it was a guy. So he played rugby.
We got the dirt. That's good. Yeah, perfect.
He played rugby. He's like, you should come and play. I'm like, I don't know. So I started playing and I got, because I was athletic, I got pretty good pretty quickly and I made the provincial team that summer. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, at the end of that summer, so we started in April, May, whatever, and in August, I sustained a massive head injury from rugby and was in and out of the hospital for 6 months. I had speech problems.
Oh, no way. Was it a hit then, obviously?
Yeah, I got tackled from behind, but my arms got pinned to my side. So I actually hit my head on the person's knee. I don't know. I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
I was out cold in the hospital for a fractured skull, fractured cheekbone, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. So I talk it because I don't remember. So it's just meh, whatever. Yeah. So I started Concordia University and I started playing, I had been recruited to play hockey and play rugby. So I didn't do anything my first year. I tried, this is when they didn't know anything about concussions. Right? This is 91. So I would skate around and I would pass out and then be like, okay, you're not going on the ice today. I'm like, nope. And then tomorrow I'd skate around, pass out. And they're like, okay, yeah, not today.
Yeah.
And so I was in and out of the hospital, like just major issues. Finally, like a good thing was that I don't know if it was because they didn't know or I was just like, oh, okay, I just keep going, keep trying. But I ended up not playing much that first year, a little bit. By the end of the year, I started playing hockey a little bit more. But then I was back playing rugby, crazy, the following May, and made the provincial team, made the national team. And by like at the end of my second year playing rugby, I was playing for Canada.
Wow, that's crazy.
Ended up playing in 2 World Cups and then started coaching and played university hockey throughout.
So you played all your 4 years of university hockey?
Yep.
And rugby on as
No, well,
well.
it only played 3. So in Montreal, it's 3-year university degree.
Oh, right, because you stage up.
Yeah, stage up. So I didn't play my first year of anything. I was mush. And then I played 2 years of university hockey and university rugby.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And played with the national team. So started playing with the national team in 92 and kept playing all the way till 2002. But I was also coaching at the same time. So I was coaching junior national program, under 19s, and then ended up coaching the senior women's 7s and finished coaching in 2009 after the Dubai World Cup.
Yep.
So coached there. And then I was like, okay, I've had enough. By that time I had a daughter. And so I was spending more time coaching other people's daughters than being with my own. So I thought it was about time to kind of call it a day.
And at that point, education wise, what did you have because I know you got a laundry list right now, but
I know. So I did my undergrad at Concordia, did athletic therapy, and then did my master's, came to Western to do my master's. And when I came, I was playing with the national team.
Okay.
And so I thought, okay, well, I'll play on the rugby team here. What a great idea, right? What a great opportunity. But they didn't have a coach. And it was the first year that the team was going into the, I think it was called then the OWAA or something. And so they asked me to coach. I'm like, I coached gymnastics when I was a kid. Like, I don't know. Sure, I'll coach. Right. So 22 years later.
Did you coach and play then?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
really?
my first 2 years I coached and played.
Wow.
And so I played rugby at Western, coached at Western, was playing on the provincial team, was playing on the national team, doing my master's, played in 2 World Cups. It took me a long time.
And had a daughter?
Oh, no, I didn't have a daughter.
Okay, not yet.
Later.
Okay.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah. So I did my master's in exercise biochemistry.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. And then I stopped school and then I got hired and I started teaching at Western. So,
okay, cool.
So I loved it. I was teaching basically phys ed for big kids. I was teaching in kin and it was great. Playing on the national team and coaching Western rugby. And then I went back, I was teaching for a while, went back to do my PhD, but I didn't want to do it in biochem. But at that time I had been playing with the national team for quite a while. And I actually got injured. Well, most rugby players get injured.
For sure.
And I had to have shoulder surgery. So shoulder surgery takes you out for at least 6 to 8 months. And with rugby, you tack on a few more months there. So I was on the national team, didn't want to lose my spot. So I ended up starting to see a psychologist who happened to work with sport people. And that was the turning point because we did like imagery, we did goal setting, we did all these things that I was like, oh yeah, I got it. I'm going to be back in the game. No problem. No time. I'll be great. And I actually, when I returned, I was better than I was when I left.
No way.
I was confident. I was like rugby smarter. I was like all of these things because I had used that time rather than,
for sure.
I don't know. I was building things that I would have never had the opportunity to
And
build.
is that kind of what got you in, that experience kind of got you into this whole field?
Absolutely, because I started then reading books on sports psych and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. How did I not know that you could do this?
Yeah.
Like it's nuts. And so I wanted to stay in the university setting and teaching, but I didn't want to keep doing what I was doing in terms of, I didn't want to be a phys ed.
Right.
I didn't want to teach activity courses for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so I had done my own sports psych. And I mean, I had a master's. The whole point of a master's is to learn how to do research. So I went to one of my colleagues actually at Western, and I said, I want to do a PhD in sports psychology. What would I need to do? And I was expecting, well, I'll go somewhere else. And he's like, well, I'll take you on, but you'd have to do a whole lot of extra coursework to catch up on the master's piece.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'm willing to do that. So I took a leave of absence, went back from my teaching, went back and did a PhD in sports psychology. And I was still coaching so I was at the time coaching the senior women's 7s team. So they kind of became my guinea pigs for a lot of the work that I was
Right,
doing,
yeah.
but it ended up being fantastic.
Yeah.
It worked out great. And so finished my PhD in sports psychology and went and did a postdoctorate in rehab and exercise psychology at McMaster. I worked with like spinal cord injury patients.
Oh,
and,
wow.
and it was really great to see that side of things. But that degree or that fellowship, whatever it's called, ended up really solidifying that I don't love research.
Right.
So I was like, okay.
More hands-on probably, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because just my coaching, like
For sure.
did my level 5 coaching, like, and coached at all levels and love coaching.
And even the teams even the sports that you
Yeah.
migrated to were like team sports,
Yeah.
like rough, fun.
Yeah.
Like rugby, I never had a chance to play like organized. We always
Yeah.
played in, for whatever reason, we had a gym teacher who loved rugby. So for like
Awesome.
3 years, it was unbelievable. I loved the sport. It was so fun. Just, we didn't have a lot of organized rugby in Sudbury for whatever reason. And I never really got into it.
Yeah.
But I love that sport. It was awesome. Yeah. That's cool.
So, yeah. And so finished that, went back and I had to make a decision and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. So I launched my own business in sports psychology consulting and it was fantastic. But what I found was I was getting athletes that were coming in that, if they came in and there was like maybe sort of, I'll say mental health, but just, there was more anxiety or there's maybe something else going on. I was like, I've got the skills to do the sports psych, like how to get you to perform. But what if they come in and there's something else? Like now I have to refer them to somebody else because I don't have the skills to do that. And what was happening is athletes would come in, they would take that leap of faith to come in, tell me their story, and then we'd work together for a while and I'd be like, you need help somewhere else. And then they'd fall through the cracks because they're like, I'm not now going to somebody who doesn't know anything about sport.
Start over again.
Yeah. So I was like, how do I best support them? I'm like, what the hell? Go back for school. So went back to school, did another master's, but I did it in counseling psychology. And that was a game changer in terms of understanding like, just depression, anxiety, and the real mental health stuff. Not that that's what I was seeing on a daily basis, but I knew that coming out of that, I had the skills and the tools to support the athletes that came in, that was a game changer.
It's amazing, man. No, and the fact that you're one thing that's always impressed me about you, and we've known each other for a long time, not a ton, but I've seen each other a bunch, and you're always doing new things. Like you're always, and to me, like something like that is huge because how many people that in the profession would have just started not treating, but dealing with some of these mental issues, just thinking, I can deal with it. Like, well, instead of sending them to another professional or getting that education piece where, okay, now I know the tools or I have some of the tools that I can help actually, make some progress with this person. Cause I think that's really important where, I think obviously you're a true professional, but there are a lot in your field and that are a joke. And that's frustrating, because
it is because it's not as regulated as other professions because it's so new.
Sure.
And so you can get a master's in sports psychology. Thankfully, because of the regulation around psychology, like I can't call myself a sports psychologist because I don't have a clinical psychology degree. So I'm a mental performance consultant to be accurate.
Yeah.
But there's so many people out there that, they have even their undergrad and they took a sports psych course and they're like, yeah, I know how to do sports psych. I'm like, well, yeah, okay, you can do the skills. It's like, yeah, you could probably teach somebody how to take a slap shot and how to skate, but are you really getting into the details of the biomechanics and everything else that a professional will have? And for me, it's, are you getting into maybe the mental health, maybe all the other stuff? So yeah, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's going in the right direction. And I think a big part of it, as you kind of alluded to at the beginning, is that it's much more accepted. People see it as, this is just another part of building my game and my repertoire to be the best athlete I can be. And I think a big part of that comes from, I remember in the 2010 Olympics, they talked about, so-and-so is seeing a sports psychologist. So-and-so is working with their mental performance coach. So-and-so is, and it was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. I'm like cheering in the background, not for the sports, but for the fact that they've said like they're working with a sports psych, right?
No, definitely. I think it's huge. It's good for the whole industry, right? As far as that side of it. And I think for any parent out there, maybe is looking at this or exploring this, I think I tell parents all the time, like, don't take your word for it or my word for it. Go ask people that maybe have worked with you, or go ask people that are in that field, and you'll find the best you'll find the best easily. Or experiment with a couple, court a couple, do a couple one-on-one sessions, see how you like it.
Absolutely.
And then kind of move on. Cause I think we talked about earlier, there's got to be a connection there.
100%.
Whether you're doing skills or you're doing mental work, whatever it is, you got to connect with that person and trust what they're saying and obviously buy into what they're telling you, right?
Yeah, for sure. We are human beings and we connect on a human level, like we interact, and we don't we don't get along with everybody. I'm sure you've had coaches where you're like, don't see eye to eye. It's not that they're necessarily a bad person. It's just their approach or personality difference, whatever. And it's the same thing for me. And I'm sure for you and your work is, you know, you got to get that connection. And sometimes I'll have athletes come in and I'll be like, I want to continue to work with you if you feel comfortable, but it's not, there's no pressure here, because if you don't feel comfortable, we're not going to get we're not going to maximize the work. So that's okay. I get it. You got to connect. And so we spend some time on, hey, like, let's just get to know what's going on in your life. Tell me about family. Tell me about growing up. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. You know, it's not the kind of Freudian, let's look at what happened in your childhood thing.
Yeah.
It's more like, so tell me about yourself.
We're building a relationship. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
Totally. Having a conversation, which now how many young kids do you have that come in, or young athletes come in that can't look you in the eye, that are just kind of like distracted? Or is that getting better, or has that gotten worse?
I don't know. You know, it's not that bad. I mean, I'm getting good at, I think I'm getting better at trying to engage them. Yeah. So I think that makes a difference. And obviously they're not bringing their phone. And I have a rule, like if don't bring your phone in.
It's a great rule. Yeah, it's a good rule.
Like we're having a conversation, and my office is set up like kind of a living room, so it's kind of like a couch setup, and so it hopefully makes them feel a little bit more comfortable, not like a doctor's office, because that's not what I want it to be like. So but I mean, I get athletes from as young as, I've had a few 7-year-olds. Doesn't go so well because just the language skills and the cognitive development just isn't there, but we can work on some stuff. But from 9, 10, 12-year-old and up, there's a lot of stuff that we can do. And obviously I tailor it depending on the age group that I'm working with. But
for any parents out there, I guess, that have like a 9, 10, 11, 12, and I hate saying this because, it's, who knows what happens at 13, 14, but some of these 12-year-olds are athletes. Like, I mean, whether they're in ballet, whether they're good, and they have potential of playing on the national team one day or whatever that is. Right. But for parents out there, they're like, well, man, my friends, my peers are going to think I'm a complete psycho if I'm taking them, right? Which is one of the fears. So they're like, don't tell anybody about this. Just keep it hush hush. And, but like, what would your recommendation be if you had that one kid and I'm big on kids playing multi-sports and being athletic. I think at one point in your life, when you get to that, probably teens, you're going to pick, you're going to migrate to whatever you love. Or
sometimes the sport picks you. Right?
Totally. But if you had a young athlete, kid, daughter, son that was really good and had a lot of potential and was even a good kid, good student, all that stuff. I think this is something, no matter if they're struggling or not, it's a big piece of their life, let alone sport. What would your recommendation be as far as navigating a parent through that process of saying, no, this is a good thing. Like this is something that will help, like going to the gym or going to the skills coach.
Well, I think that's the thing, as I relate it back to, and we were talking about this before, but relate it back to, the mind is part of the body, just like any other part of the body is part of the body. And it reacts to training the exact same way. It reacts to development the exact same way. And if you say to an athlete, like, just be confident. Well, if you haven't taught them what the fundamental factors and the building blocks of confidence are, and you haven't helped them train those fundamental building blocks, how do you expect somebody to be confident? It's like me saying, oh, you've never taken a slap shot? Just take a slap shot. Well, if you haven't learned how to do it and you haven't been trained how to do it, you have no idea. So a big part of it is just, I see myself as a mindset coach. Like, I'm a coach for your brain and your emotions. That's it, right? That's what I am. I'm going to help you develop those skills, but you have to do the work. And a lot of the athletes that come in, the younger athletes especially, will come in, and the parents later will be like, oh my God, they're so much better at school. They're so much more focused. They're not nervous before exams. It's like, we're not treating, it's not isolated to sport. The brain doesn't go, oh, wait, I'm going to use this skill only for sport. Like, it goes, oh, I know how to manage my nerves, or I know how to feel confident. It feels confident in whatever situation.
I'm just picturing a young athlete being dialed in their sport and just a train wreck at school. They're just a train wreck at home, right? Like, it's going to bleed over into your entire life for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So I think a big thing is, your athletes, and the young athletes are being, I think more so than when I was growing up, is they're being asked to behave like adults as children. Like, I work with junior hockey players, and they're being treated like full-on NHL guys. It's like, okay, that's great to a certain extent, but they're 16 years old. Like, you need the skills to develop that mindset of how to respond to that. And sometimes it's just a matter of time and working with someone or being exposed to those things. But you have to develop the skills, and we don't do that.
No, I think we do a poor job. And going back to exactly what you do, I think we don't do a good job of even teaching kids how to be leaders. Now, yeah, you have your captains and I'm sure you were a captain on most of your teams and someone that's just a leader and people tend to gravitate to them. You treat people right. But even those kids that aren't leaders, teaching them leadership skills. Like even though you're maybe the 10th forward picked on this team, you have a capability of being a leader at certain 100%. Instances and stuff. And I don't think we do a good job as coaches or parents even to help our kids have that confidence in stepping up when they need to or talking for themselves or things like that. And I think if you were to kind of sum it up quickly, and I know every situation is different, but I brought my 12-year-old to you. He worked with you for 6 months, kind of like a training program once a week, whatever that was. What are some of the benefits that you see with some of these young kids? I know it's a broad spectrum, but some of the highlight ones you're like really proud of that, and they were, they dialed this in or they got better at this or, are there anything that kind of come to mind that you're like?
I mean, the biggest thing, we hear about it now so often is sort of this idea of pre-performance nerves or anxiety or not being able to rebound from mistakes, right? That's the thing that so many athletes come in and they're like, I get so nervous before games and I was like, okay, well, do you try to get rid of that stuff? They're like, I don't want to feel nervous. I'm like, nervous just means that your brain is thinking about something that's important to you and the body is signaling you to give you some energy to go, let's go act, right? So helping athletes understand how their emotions, why their emotions are there, what they're used for. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you mean I can use this and transfer it and then use it in the game? 100%. And then magically the nerves and the anxiety go away. It's like, okay, it's just about teaching and learning how to use those things. Yeah. Or, you talked about leadership. I mean, I've had a couple of athletes where they're super great athletes, but they're just doing their job. And it's like, well, you have an opportunity to lead here. Lead by example. And we start to develop, what does it mean to be a leader? What does it mean to be a leader without having the C or the A on your shirt? What does it mean to do this? What does it mean to set some goals? Looking ahead, you want to get drafted? Okay, well, let's start working on all the fundamental skills. Start taking ownership for your development now. Don't wait for somebody to pick you. You start. Take the ownership. Go home. Do the work. Some of the most incredible athletes that have come through, I'll say the systems that have come out. You think of Crosby and other people who they were alone in their basement, like firing pucks I'm not saying to go fire pucks at your dryer, but firing pucks at the dryer. They're taking time, but somehow he developed that ownership. Somehow, somewhere along the line, there's probably some of it that's ingrained, but probably some of it, Dad said, you want to get better? Go out and fire some pucks. Right?
Yeah,
Start to develop some of those skills. What are your goals? What do you want to do? And take ownership of that. So, I think the biggest point, going back to your question, is, the success stories, a lot of them are about being able to manage emotions for what they are and recognize them for what they are, and then starting to take ownership and just kind of being your own person. Going, this is what I want to achieve. This is how I'm going to achieve it. And along the way, there's other skills. We'll teach imagery or visualization skills. We'll do some goal setting. We'll talk about self-talk. So many kids, after they make a mistake, they beat themselves up. And they're like, I'm so hard on myself. I'm like, that's good to be hard on yourself. But how you talk to yourself makes a big difference. And so let's teach you how to talk to yourself. You would never talk like that to your buddy. You would never talk.
True.
Yeah.
I think everyone listening right now knows that little voice in your head that's just so mean to you.
But we think, but I'm hard on myself and this is how I'm going to get better. So I can't be nice because if I'm nice, then I'm going to be soft. It doesn't go that way. Yeah. Right? Like you can still be hard, but not be someone who's like just making you lose that motivation or lose that confidence. Right? I always say you can use whatever words you want. You can drop whatever swear word you want in your own head as long as that makes you feel like going back and keep going. Right. If what you say to yourself, however you say it, makes you feel like stopping and quitting and that you're not good enough, we need to change the verbal language.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Right.
So I can use any cuss word I want in my head. Doesn't matter. Okay, good.
As long as it makes you feel like, I want to go back. Right. Like
or you get that hunger. Yeah. You're like, I could do better than that. I got better than that. Yeah.
That's fine. That's good. Right. Okay. It makes you want to keep going. It makes you want to step up and persevere. Great. Keep up that self-talk. Right.
Yeah. Oh, it's good, man. I think I think those are things, I mean, when you're dealing with these young athletes or athletes in general, doesn't matter what age, how often during a session or while you're dealing with them, are you thinking, I really need to have this conversation with their parents?
Oh my God.
Right? Because you get them for an hour and parents have them for
every day.
Right? So I'm sure a lot of times that same athlete comes in unraveled again and you're like, oh man, you know exactly what's happening. Yeah. So how much of the communication goes through the athlete to the parent or to you to the parent?
So depending on the age, I want to, the other thing is because of, there's a certain amount of confidentiality because I want the athlete to feel comfortable and I want for them to feel safe and that they can tell me stuff. So there's always that whatever they tell me one-on-one, I don't share with parents or with coaches or anybody unless they specifically tell me or unless I say, look, I think this would be a good time for me to share this with mom or dad. How do you feel about that? And if they say, no, I don't want to, I can't share it. It's confidentiality, right? But a lot of times I'll say, if I see that there's something kind of going on, I'm like, I wonder if the pressure is coming from the parents without them even knowing that they're putting pressure. Is I'll send them some information, right? I'll send them, hey, we've been talking about a lot of this stuff, and I think this would be useful for you to read and to share with like little Johnny. And then the parents read it and they're like, oh, okay, wait a second. Hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, this is what, and I try to give some resources to the parents because most of the time, like I would say 99.9% of the time, the parents that bring their kids in, their kids want to get help or want to develop. A lot of times it's not that there's something wrong.
Right.
It's they'll come in and they'll be like, hey, I've got the draft year next year. I want to be ready.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, they're not going to come to you and go, I've got the biggest tournament in my life tomorrow. Help me develop skills. Yeah. Right. Although that happens.
For sure it does. Yeah, guaranteed.
Right. Yeah. But so it's not a problem necessarily. It's just, do you want to develop the skills that are going to make you the best that you can be and give you the best chance of success? But
when you say that some of these, let's say hockey players getting drafted, he comes in a year early to me, that is a player taking responsibility in his training. Yeah. Like he's getting ready for what is a big event for those young kids, which at the end of the day, for you and I, we get it. It's not that big of an event. You got way more hockey to be played, even if you get drafted or not. But for them, getting prepared, I think is massive. I think it's for the letdown and maybe not getting drafted or going later or going high and being maybe a first round pick. And oh my God, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. So I think this kind of stuff is huge, And one thing we talked about this before we got on, I think it's really important because you'd mentioned like with your background, how you played, and I know the era that we played in was a little bit less PC and our coaches were harder on us, whether it was verbally or mentally or physically. I mean, it was a lot different. Right. And you had mentioned like some of these young people that are in your field, they're like, well, how do you feel? I'm really having a hard time with it. Like I want to quit. Well, then you should probably quit. Yeah. Or no. This is like, and this is what I see even with the young generation we have now is when going gets really tough, it's like, wow, maybe I'll just pull shoot, right? Where maybe that is the right answer down the road, but let's figure this out first. I had a young guy who was dealing with a bunch that had his own issues, just didn't play the way the coaches wanted to. Played a tough game, and if you coach him, you drive you nuts. If I coach him, you drive me nuts. And he wanted to get traded. Like, well, you're going to take a problem and bring it to another team. The same thing's going to happen. Yeah. Don't worry about getting traded. Fix your problem. Yeah. And then go to another team if you have to or whatever. But I think the way that you are and stuff, I think it's important that it's not a pity party. It's not me sitting across the table from you as an athlete saying, coaches just never lets me play. I don't play enough. I never get power play time. And you're like, okay, well, once you dissect, well, yeah, you're soft. You don't play the way he wants you to play. And I think it's important sometimes for kids to hear some of the truths, right? Yeah. And I think, I word it in the way that, okay, there's the controllables and then there's the uncontrollables. There's a lot of things that you can control that will have an influence, but will not necessarily change the environment or change the outcome, but they're going to give you a much better chance of success. And you can either focus on all the things that you don't have, you don't control, and that you can't do, or which is a whole waste of mental energy, or you can focus on the things that you can control, that you can do, and that you do have. Now get to work on that. So it's your choice. Like at the end of the day, it's your choice, but you can either change the environment or change the way you react to the environment. Change the environment. Often there's not a whole lot of change unless you get out. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine. That's your call. But you have way more influence on the things that you can do within your own self. And so, okay, maybe you're right. The coach is a jerk. And maybe you're right. He's not treating you well. And maybe you're right. But what are you going to do about it? You're not going to change him. So what are we going to do? So let's start working on some skills that are going to give you the best chance of success. Yeah. And again, going back to this, I always talk about this with hockey is I don't really care where players end up playing. I want to see players that are good people, going to be a good dad, a good husband, a hard worker. And I'm sure it's the same with you when you're dealing with young guys and girls. Like the big picture for us, we're older, so we look at it a little bit differently.
I'm not old. What are you talking about?
Well, no, you're right. You're a lot younger than I am. But no, like I think I look at it way differently now, and I'm like, I just want my kids to be good kids. I want this kid that I'm working with to be a good kid overall, and they can do that. I think it'll help their game. It'll help their sport. It'll help what they're doing. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And then it's just part of it is being a good person and letting them know that they are good people.
most of them are good people, independent of what they do in their sport. Like their sport is just one facet of who they are. It's not all of who they are. And to recognize like having a strong athletic identity is super important, but it is not the end all and be all, right? You have a strong athletic identity, you're going to work hard in your sport. You're going to commit, you're going to do all this stuff, but it is not the only part of you. And you have other things. You have school, you have a future and a career, whatever that career may be. You're going to be a future husband, wife, whatever. Be a good person and develop the skills that'll make you the best person that you can to navigate life and whatever life throws at you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think sometimes though too, I'm going to go back to the parents a little on this too, but I think sometimes the parents make that sport their life and that like everything revolves around volleyball or basketball or hockey or whatever it is. And I think it's wrong. Like, I think that's so wrong and wrong for the kid because there's so much pressure on that young guy or girl to everything's basketball. Everything. And you talk to a parent for 4 minutes and within 30 seconds it's back to basketball and how little Johnny's doing a basketball. And does he do anything? You guys do anything else? Like, and I think that's the big piece for me where you talk about pressure and stuff like that. I think we as parents sometimes, maybe inadvertently do it where we just engulf our life with our kid and their sport. And it's so hard on them, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we see it so much where, a lot of the parents, sounds weird, social life is, like hockey, for example, right? Like the kid plays hockey, but the parents' social life is all the hockey parents in there. And then and when the kid doesn't feel like playing anymore, it's like, well, what's going to happen to all my buddies? Right? But I think an important thing is like, yes, support your kid, but this is your kid's life. Like this is their experience and they're going to fail and they're going to make mistakes and they're going to do great stuff and they're going to make some great decisions, but it's all theirs to experience. And you can't save them, but you also can't do it for them. Right. This is their life to live, however much you want them to succeed. And God, please don't bank your retirement on your kids' success.
Yeah, that's probably a big one not to do.
Right.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. But it's hard because it's such a fine line. Like, I mean, I have my own daughter and she's involved in everything. And I try to support her as best as possible. My husband and we try to support her as best as possible, but and I catch myself too. And I have the knowledge, right? Like I can't even imagine, but sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this is so not my life. Like, do you want to go to this? And she's like, well, what do you think I should do? I'm like, well, I want to know what you think. Like, what do you want to do this? You've been invited to this camp, this camp, this camp. If we do all this stuff, yeah, great. But you're also going to burn out. So what do we do? Which one do you want to do? She's like, I don't want to let you down. It's not about me. I've lived my life. I'm just here. What do you want me to do? I'm the taxi driver. I'm the this, I'm the that.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Right. And that's hard because people are like, well, your kid, she's going to be good just like you. I'm like, she's going to be her own thing. Like she's going to do her own thing. And if she wants to play sports or she wants to quit, whatever, she does her own thing. That's her life to live. I'm just here to pay the bills, drive the car.
Yeah, no, and like somebody
wave the pom-poms.
Yeah, exactly. But having a mother like yourself who's played high level and stuff, I think I feel the same way. I'm a rookie parent. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old. So they're young. There's
but we're always rookie parents, right?
Yeah, I think every age it becomes a new rookie part for sure. Yeah, because everything's new. Like and for me, similar to you, there's times where like my competitive side gets I'm like, oh man, like I knew he could have done that, or I knew my daughter she could have beat him there, or she could whatever, right? It's like, I gotta like settle down a little bit here. And my wife's very much the other way. She's like, they're having fun. They're smiling. It's great. And she's right. She's like, 100%. And for me, it's about like carrying your own bag. It's about saying thank you to the coach. It's about, helping pick up pucks or helping pick up soccer balls after whatever it is. Right. But those to me are the big wins right now. And then if they do like it and they're getting into it, great. But I think, like you said, I think it's very important for parents to allow the kids to have some investment in it. So, and I've even told parents, like, kids want to play spring hockey, no problem. That's great. Tournaments and travel is going to cost about $3,000. So for $3,000, we could do this and this and this, or we can do that. Like having them understand a little bit what's involved because it is a lot of driving and money and meals and all that stuff. And a lot of kids have no idea. Yeah. You'll see kids break a set of cleats because they don't like them anymore. Or they'll puncture their ball because they don't want to kick it anymore. They hate it and they want a new one. And mom and dad, sure enough, will go, go out and grab it. And so I think there's got to be some ownership on the kids' part too. At young ages, I think it starts where they understand kind of what's going on. Right?
Absolutely. And that's why in some of the stuff that I do when the athletes come in and I give them, it's just like probably with you, you're like, okay, we've done this. Now go home and work on this.
100%.
Right. Yes. I do the same thing. And they're like, what? I'm like,
homework.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got mental training work to do. Like me talking to you for an hour isn't going to change your confidence unless you go and work on it every day. So here's the stuff that I want you to do. And that's why when they come in, like, here's the stuff that I want you to do. I'm going to check in on you in about a week. See how it goes. And if you think this is good for you, and if you think you want to keep doing this kind of work, awesome. I'm willing to work with you. But if you don't like this, or this is too much work for you, that's fine. But this is not going to work.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think the homework piece for you and for myself, because I want kids to go shoot pucks, and I can tell when they come back in a week or 2 weeks, like you've been shooting, you can tell. But if they're not going to do that, then why? I always say, like, why to the parents, I'm like, don't spend the money.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't even buy them a new stick if they don't want to shoot pucks at home. Like, just buy them,
And it's not, I do the same thing with parents. I'm like, don't invest in this. And it's not that there's something wrong with your kid that they don't want to do it. This is just not the right time. And maybe this isn't just their thing. Maybe they just want to play hockey and whatever, or maybe they just want to do whatever sport they do, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's theirs to do whatever they want with. And you're like, oh, I don't want them to miss an opportunity. They're going to miss opportunities. You know what? It's going to happen. Yeah. And so you provide them with the stuff, but if they don't want to do it, don't push, because they're just going to resent you for it. And then they're not going to like coming to see me if they don't want to come and see me on their own volition. They want to do it on their own. Great. They're going to enjoy it. They're going to buy in. But if they don't want to do it on their own, there's no point in you pushing. You're wasting money, and they're going to resent it.
Yeah. No, I think that's huge. And I think that's a big message for parents too. Mm-hmm. I always tell them your biggest measuring stick is your child. Yeah. If you're getting up for 7:30 practice and your son or daughter is not ready to go, then fine, they got to go because they're committed to that season. But next year, we're not doing this. There's no way. I'm not dragging you out of bed every day to go to school or go to whatever you're doing. Like, school's different, got to do that. But hockey or whatever, you know what I mean? And to me, once in a while, fine, it happens. They're tired, they had a long night. I get it. But if it's happening all the time, and to your point, if they're some of the car rides probably to come and see me or come and see you, the kid's like, I don't want to go. I hate this. Yeah. Like, hey, Natasha, we're going to shut this down whenever our sessions are done. And like, this is it, right?
Yeah. And I'm okay. And I the big thing is, I don't want the parents to get mad at the kid. Yeah. Right. Like, this isn't reflecting bad on you as a parent that they don't want to come in. It's just, that's not what interests them. That's okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Right. Like, I've got kids and they're like, just sitting across from me and looking at me like, oh my God, I don't want to be here. Right?
They're doing this.
Yeah.
Just like nodding.
Yeah. And so I'll be like, hey, like, Johnny, is this something you want to do today? And you're like, no, Dad made me come. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's just cut it short. And it's okay. I'm okay with you not being here. It's okay. Yeah. When you're ready, come back. If you're ready, come back. You know what I do. You know where I am. Come back when you're ready. This might not be a good time. And that's okay. You probably got a whole lot of stuff going on. This is not at the top of your priority list. That is okay.
And do you have athletes that do come back and are way different? Just like, okay, I'm ready now.
I've had athletes that, they come in and they're just, it's not age so much, it's just their readiness, right? Yeah. They might be like 13, 14, 15, but they're just not ready. This is not what they want to do. And I've had like quite a few athletes who've contacted me a year or two later and they're like, I'm getting ready for this and I want to go to university and I really want to play university sport or whatever it is. Yeah. And they'll be like, I know we did some stuff and I think I'm ready to do some of the stuff that we talked about before. I'm like, awesome, let's go.
That's cool.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that really is great. Yeah. And I love that. Like, the worst thing to me is, and even for what I do, someone will come in and do a private session. Well, how many do we have to do? Like 0. Just do one. That's it. Talk to your son. Don't talk to him in front of me. Talk to him in the car on the way home. Yep. Ask him how he liked it. If you didn't like it, no problem. Like, no worries at all. If you want to do more, we can do more. But I don't, it's like going to a chiropractor. You're going to see me every week for the rest of your life. Like, perfect. That sounds great. Sounds awesome. Sign me up. Right? Like, I want to be able to abort mission if I have to, or I don't want to feel like I'm locked in. Right. And I think that's important. Obviously, going through that whole process, because for some people it's a little bit intimidating, number one, or not sure what to expect.
For sure. Yeah.
Now, if somebody comes to you, what
the process?
Well, no, not even that, but I guess like, if I did come to you with my 12-year-old daughter, who's a gymnast who would like to, just got big competitions coming up and she's doing really well. Would it be like, me as a parent, I want her to come 3 days a week for the rest of the year. Right. How would that work? Like once a week, once every 2 weeks?
So I always start just like, let's just get to know each other. So consultation, we'll sit down. I'm going to give you some stuff that I think will address what it is that's going on. I'll check in with you in about a week. And then we'll see how it goes. If you feel you want to come back, come back. Great. If this is how you want to work it, awesome. I usually suggest one, depending on is it an issue? Is it, are we just working toward we're working towards something? At the beginning, the first few sessions, we're going to go once every week to 2 weeks, just so that I'm going to give you some stuff to work on. I need some space for you to work on that, or that time to work on that stuff. And then come back, and then we do some more work. And then I give you more stuff to talk about, to do. And then we talk about that. And then as things go, we kind of spread it out. I usually, if I'm seeing an athlete, wouldn't be more than every 4 weeks would be the biggest interval. Because otherwise I give them stuff they forget.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. And I use some technology to kind of check in, like, okay, send this to me, show me a video of this, tell me what you did. Here's like either an audio log or a video log of what you did, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But usually every 2 to 3 weeks is the regular time. I'm not, unless it's like something issue.
Yeah. You want to get after a little bit quickly, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't usually see an athlete more than once every 2 weeks or so. Yeah.
And would you do stuff abroad? So if I was playing
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So just phone calls or FaceTime
usually,
or Skype or whatever,
it's
right?
so easy, right? Like I'll have athletes that they'll come in and we'll be training for some stuff, getting ready for them to go. And then they're away, and we still have, maybe they're away for a month, and we still have a few sessions leading up. But I try to avoid in the competition, because it's just like, you wouldn't be on top of them, teaching them how to, hey, skate this edge, do this, do that. It's like, by then you got
to be going.
You're just doing whatever you've learned by that point. Right.
Sure.
But I've had athletes that have, they're here in the summer, and then they play like European hockey over in Europe. And so we do Skype sessions once a month, for example, or whatever. Or I have athletes that are, in Toronto. We just do Skype or FaceTime sessions, right?
Yeah.
I usually like to have the first meeting in person, because it's get a connection. But I work with athletes all over the world.
And how do you find you get most of your athletes? Like, is it a lot of word of mouth? Is it
mostly
just
word
researching
of mouth
and kind of finding people?
I get a few people that will go online and they'll type in like sport psychology or mental performance, and my name comes up in London. There's a few of us that do this kind of work in London. We all have our own different backgrounds. Some people are pure clinical psychologists who happen to do work with sport. Some, myself, who's truly sport based, and so on. But but a lot of it, I think most of it is word of mouth. Yeah.
Because I know just in what we do, if I'm talking to any parent about that field of mental, preparation, mental toughness. I like the word. I think you use mental gym sometimes, which is great.
Mind gym, or I call it mental fitness.
Yeah, it's awesome. But if people ask us, like, your name always pops up as one of the 2 or 3 people that I would recommend. But I think that's a lot of it. Is just, you got a good reputation. You've done a really good job. I know a lot of the people that you've worked with, and they love it. And I think it's such a big part of the game that sometimes I'll suggest it. If I know a player's going through a bit of a funk or just isn't really focused or dialed in the way they should be, then it's like, you should talk to the parents about it, but something you should look into, Yeah. Now, how difficult has it been for you over the last, let's say 5-6 years, with mental illness and obviously the mental part of the game? Because they're two totally different things, but a concussion or someone comes out of that head injury a little bit off, or a little bit different, or depression or things like that I think sometimes they're just morphed into, issues.
You don't, I mean, if you've, whatever issue, if you want to call it that, you've got, it permeates into every part of your life. Right. So, in terms of, difficulty, I think it's really important to separate out what's happening. Right. And I work a lot with athletes who are recovering from concussion. That's such a big part of it, because they'll go through the physical stuff of, okay, yes, you're cleared to play, or they don't know how long it's going to take until they're cleared to play. And that's such a mental battle. The unknown is such a mental battle. Yeah. And, that's why I said at the beginning when I was talking about my head injury, fortunately, having gone through all that, I know I've been there. I'm not going to ever be in the other person's shoes, but I've been through that, and I know how challenging it is. And we had an opportunity when I was coaching the rugby team at Western. We had an opportunity to work with Robarts, and they were doing a lot of concussion research, and I volunteered my whole team to do the concussion research. Yeah. And it helped me understand what was happening. And so now, working with athletes that are recovering from concussion, yes, they're doing their stuff with, whatever medical professionals that they have. And then for us, it's okay, let's set some small goals. Let's start to do some work that you can do away from your sport, imagery, visualization, depending on the severity of where you are in the rehab program of the concussion. But There's a lot of stuff that we can do that you're not just sitting, waiting, twiddling your thumbs in a dark room, hoping for the day that you're able to play.
It's a great point though. And I think like, so I had my kind of sustained my first kind of major injury last year at 41 years old, which is kind of embarrassing, but I broke my leg. So I was laid up. Right. But thinking about this now, which I didn't do this and I should have, but I ended up doing like audiobooks and just kind of doing things to kind of keep in mind. But this as a younger athlete, let's say even at my age, I could have done it, but getting in touch with someone like you, like, I'm on crutches. I'm not doing anything. I could wheel into your office and spend 6 weeks just talking about and getting more, you know, so anybody in an injury or going through that rehab of an injury, great opportunity to jump on this and say, you know what, I've got time anyway.
Exactly.
And let's start checking this out, checking this whole, if you haven't done it before, right? Let's start looking at this whole getting my mind tougher. I think it's a great, because it is hard to go through an injury, number one.
Yeah.
And I gained a whole new appreciation for somebody breaks their arm, like, hey, don't worry, buddy. You'll be back a couple weeks, no problem. And then they go home and they're sitting watching Netflix for 8 hours and they're depressed. And I went through that and I was like, man, this is way different than I thought it was going to be. Like, remember the first day it happened on let's say a Sunday. So Monday morning, I'm laid up, a lot of pain, obviously. Wife leaves, kids leave for school. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I don't have any food around me. I don't even know how I'm going to get food. It was unbelievable. I was like, all right, I love you guys. See you. And I was like, what do I do now? I didn't leave the house for 5 days, which is like unheard of for anybody, right? I'm like, this is ridiculous. So you figure it out. But that would have been a perfect opportunity to jump on it. And you know, so any young athlete going through this stuff, it's what a great time to spend 2 months.
And my poor daughter, we talked about this before, like my poor daughter, she's not poor daughter, but she just sprained her ankle. She does a whole bunch of stuff, but right now she's doing speed skating. She's playing hockey. She's doing triathlons, all kinds of, this is just the winter stuff. Yeah. I know, it's crazy.
And how old?
She's 12. No, wait, she just turned 14.
Okay, cool.
I missed 2 years. But she just sprained her ankle like last week and she was all bummed and she's got like a training camp coming up and she's got all these, she's like, oh, I'm like, no, don't worry about it. We got it. Let's go. Okay. So here's how we're going to treat this. We're going to do the protocol that the physio says. You and I are going to do some sports psych every night. We're going to start to set some goals. What do you want to be able to do this week? What do you want to be able to do? Okay, we're going to do some visualization. You can't speed skate. We're going to do it in your head. All right, let's start to do some relaxation, some mindfulness. Let's da-da-da-da. And she's like all over it. Like she's just gung-ho.
She's a motivated young girl, right?
Well, she's also my guinea pig, right? So she's like totally been in this from
sick,
day
actually.
one.
The fact that she's loving it though.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of times parents be like, the kids will be like, leave me alone, mom. You don't know what you're talking about.
She's,
that's awesome.
Either I have brainwashed her really, really well, or she's a great kid. But I mean, she was like 2 or 3 years old coming to like national team training camps where I was doing this stuff. She would sit in on my classes at Western, the sports psych classes. And she would like, I put up her hand. She'd have all the answers and all the students are like, what? Who is this kid? Like 5 years old.
Yeah. She helped me put this together actually. That's great, man.
But it's
That's
cool.
Awesome.
And just to see her, like, she's totally motivated. So it's been a week and she's like, yeah, okay, see how good my ankle's being. Let's check the range of motion. Let's measure this. Let's measure that. I'm like, you're doing great. Let's go.
But what a great way to get through an injury though, right? Like stay, like another piece of motivation aside from just getting back physically, you feel like you're doing something mentally and you're getting better.
You're taking ownership. Like you've got control at least of part of this thing. Yeah. Right. Rather than waiting for the doctor or the physio to go, okay, now you can do this. Totally. She's like, no, okay. What's my, she asked the physio, well, what should I be able to do in about a week? And the physio's like, well, you can't, I don't know. She's like, no, but what's my goal for in about a week? And so just said, you should be able to do this, then this. I'm like, okay, well, let's do some visualization. We're going to imagine yourself doing those things now. We're going to imagine, so a week ahead, we're going to start imagining what you're doing a week ahead of what you should, right? And she's like, I could walk. I'm like, yeah, you could walk. Right? All kinds of stuff.
It's awesome,
so cool.
man. Yeah, it's really good.
So and just teaching those skills, right?
How long has she been injured for? Is it pretty fresh?
Like last week. Okay. Thursday or whatever.
So it'll be interesting for you to have somebody like that close to you that you can actually see every day and just see kind of, obviously, this stuff works and you know that what you do has success.
And she's 100% buying it.
Yeah, she's your perfect athlete, like that way, right? For sure. Yeah. And if she doesn't listen, she gets grounded. So it's not, it all works out. It all works out. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, this is awesome, man. And I know you're a little bit tight for time, so I really appreciate you coming in. I know you're busy. But if anyone wants to find you or kind of see what you've got going on and stuff like that, where can they find you?
Best place is, I don't do a whole lot of social media. In fact, I don't do much of it. So the best place is just on my website. It's elitemindperformance.com, all one word. Or you can just search my name, Natascha Wesch, and I'm the only one pretty much with that name. So, and just from personal experience, seeing your website, it's super informative. And I think
it gives a good snapshot of who you are. Or some websites you go to and you're like, and then you meet the person, and you're like, it wasn't really what I saw in the, you know what I mean? Not even picture wise, just like kind of painted it. But I think, and I've had an opportunity over working with teams and players to deal with this field a little bit and people in the field. And I think it's really important to have someone that has a background and that's played sports. And not that everybody's going to connect with you, but yeah, I mean, you've done an unbelievable job, and and you've got a ton of degrees and postdocs and stuff to go with it. So it's, you're validated.
Thanks. Yeah. And if anybody does want to go on the website, I've got resources and videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's tons of information on there.
There's stuff on there they can just do and start and just see what they like. And,
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. And best of luck.
Thank you.
And good luck with your daughter. You got to keep us posted on how she,
she's
how much faster she goes back.
Oh yeah. Thanks.
All right.